There are so many happy days on the homestead with lambs running around eating grass and frolicking about, and baby piglets being born and watching them nurse their mothers for the first time. There's so much life and energy, abundance on the homestead. Flourishing gardens and happy animals. These are the things that come to mind when I think of homesteading. However, there is a darker side to the homestead. Just as we got to experience the joy and the beauty of watching the piglets be born just a few weeks ago, we've also now experienced some death. A real heavy rainstorm came in last night. It was around 11:30, 11:45 at night. The rain was pretty loud, so it had me concerned about the piglets, because I know they've been getting out of their farrowing huts now. They just jump right out, which hasn't been an issue. They haven't wandered off, and all the sows get along with all the piglets. There's no conflict at all. But uh-oh. Just noticed there's a chicken hanging out of the tractor, and the hardware cloth has popped up. They haven't figured it out though yet. Hey, get back in there. Get back in there. Oh boy. There we go. That happened on the other tractor a couple days ago when the Fouches were here. I was feeding the chickens, and all of a sudden they busted out and charged the feeding bucket I had, and I was trying to push them back in and hold the door shut, and of course I was trapped there. I didn't have a staple gun, just happened to be on my pocket or anything. So I waited, and eventually Nick Fouch came walking by. So I called for Nick, and he held the door, and I went and got the staple gun and shut it. He said the way to avoid this in the future is put a furring strip on the door over where the staples are and screw it in. That way the screws are holding the hardware cloth and not the staples. Sound advice that I just haven't followed yet, so I definitely need to do that now. So the rainstorm came in, and it was coming in heavy. I was concerned with the piglets because they get out of the farrowing huts, but they don't do so well going back in. About a week ago, it rained very lightly, and I saw a group of piglets outside one of the shelters, all huddled up, getting soaking wet. They were all cold and shivering, and I put them in the farrowing hut out of the rain, and they were fine. But they didn't really seem to get the concept of going under shelter in the rain, so last night when the rain was coming in, I was really concerned for them. I came outside to check on them around 11:45. I found a bunch of pigs in one farrowing hut. All 4 of the adult pigs were in there, and all but 5 of the piglets were crammed into one farrowing hut. It looked a lot like this, except there were 2 more full-size pigs squeezed in there as well. And there were 5 piglets on the outside of the farrowing hut, just drenched, shivering and cold, having a hard time of it. So I picked up those piglets and I put them in a neighboring farrowing hut. The other farrowing hut was packed full, and I was concerned that a piglet could get crushed. There's so many in there with all 4 of the big pigs. So I put them in a neighboring one, and they did not settle. They were very unhappy. I think they just could not get warm, just being a few of them there like that, being soaking wet. I waited out there till about 12:10 in the morning, and the piglets could not settle. They were not getting warm, they were not getting comfortable. So I just made the decision to put them in with the rest of the group so they could get warm and they wouldn't freeze to death overnight. So when I put them in the farrowing hut with the rest of the pigs, I waited a couple more minutes and watched them. They all settled and everyone looked fine and comfortable, and I went back in the house. When I came out the next morning to feed the pigs, I found this. I suspect it had suffocated under this massive pile of piglets that was in there. It was just this massive dog pile, or pig pile. And So it was pretty disappointing to find that, to have had the piglets for a few weeks now and all of them been doing so well. It was really disappointing to experience that loss. Later in the afternoon, I was making my rounds, checking on the animals, and I noticed there was another piglet down. It was in this farrowing hut right here behind me. I noticed it was off to the side, and there was a group of piglets all cuddled up on the other side of the farrowing hut, so it appeared as something was wrong. I went to check on it. It was still alive, but it was cold to the touch and wet and muddy. I picked it up and it just turned its head to look at me, and I just knew it was not doing well. I ran inside the house with it and I called for Ashley, and we went into the bathroom with it. We have a little cadet heater, we turned that on, I got the hair dryer, and we started trying to warm it up.
Are you still there? You're stinky, dude. Yeah, he doesn't have enough insulation yet. He's just a little guy. You getting warmer? Yeah, a little bit. We're doing everything we can for you, buddy. We are. We're giving you all the love we can. We want you to get nice and warm. We want your little legs to be warm. So this little guy is stretching a little. His arms and legs were super limp when you brought him in. So he was stretching, he was moving his arms and legs a little. We're just trying to keep him alive, give him lots of nice warm air, rubbing him. Oh, there you go. Stretch it out, buddy. Yeah. There you go.
Watch we know he's alive like that.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
It was starting to work. The piglet was coming back. He was starting to be responsive. He was moving around a little bit. Ashley had to get back to her work, so I took over holding the piglet, rubbing it, and it started going downhill again. I don't know why. It just became unresponsive again and seemed to be unconscious, but it was still breathing, and I kept the hair dryer on it. Does that every 15 or 20 seconds. He opens his mouth and it has like a... Gotta fight. Gotta keep fighting, okay? There you go. I remember what our sheep breeder Tess had said about bringing a lamb back from hypothermia.
To use a little bit of molasses vitamin mix is to administer it in the corner of the mouth, just like that, and to just give them like a squirt or two. And it's basically, it just gives them molasses to get their brain some glucose while they're warming. And it has a lot of various vitamins.
So I made a small bowl of warm water and I drizzled in honey and mixed it up just so there would be some kind of sweetener, some kind of fluid I could get into him. I used our drench syringe that we use for the sheep and started drenching him in the mouth with a little bit of the honey water. I don't know that the honey water was actually doing anything, but at one point he started perking up again. He seemed all but dead, and then all of a sudden he came back and he was starting to move his legs again and opening his mouth. After doing everything we could to try to warm the piglet and revive him, he didn't make it. He died. It was a pretty upsetting day on the homestead today to lose 2 piglets and one that we worked so hard to try to bring back from the edge of death, and didn't work out. But that's the reality of homesteading. There's life and there's death, especially when there's young animals on the homestead. When babies are being born, or if you're buying young lambs, there's such a high risk for them to die. It's just all part of the homesteading experience. The 2 that died were both males, but the remaining 14 piglets all seem to be doing fine. I've been keeping a close eye on them since, and everyone's been running around nursing. It does not look like any of the other piglets have any issues. It's wild how it seems everything is going fine, and then just some cold weather and a heavy rainstorm comes in, and it creates some challenges for sure. We still have some really nice, healthy, fat little piglets here. Life goes on the homestead.